Tyler, I was going to pick up 6 cans of Sprite from the store for you, but I accidentally picked 7 up. Boom! Welcome back to Lesson 7. I can't believe you got through that article. That was a rough article. I think we can all agree on that. But you are here, you got through it, and now what we're going to do is take some of those ideas from the article and look at them more closely with Call of the Wild. So read along with me here at the top right. In this lesson, you will connect ideas across texts, that's the article we read and Call of the Wild, by applying the nature faker debate to Call of the Wild. So Jack London was called a nature faker, right? And he was pretty sensitive about that. Don't call him a nature faker. But we're going to see if he really was a nature faker, in your opinion. Move on to the next slide. Okay, so what you're going to need for this lesson, you will need Call of the Wild Chapter 1. You will need your blue notebook, pages 26 and 27. And you're going to need to reference any helpful notes you've taken, especially like the chapter summaries that we did of the other animals, that really difficult article. You'll probably need to look back at those for this lesson as well. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to reread parts of Chapter 1 of Call of the Wild and reference any additional notes like our split page notes handout where we summarize parts of the story. And we're going to gather text evidence that illustrates and contradicts London's argument that he is not a nature faker in the other animals, right? So in the other animals, he's saying, stop, I'm not a nature faker. If anything, I'm trying to make animals seem more like animals and less like people, okay? And he gives a bunch of reasons. But we're going to see if that's true. Does he actually do what he says he's doing in that article? Does he do that in Call of the Wild? Or is he using Call of the Wild to make Buck into a person? So it's up to us to decide. And we will have a debate about this at the end of the next couple lessons. So prepare for that. Go ahead and turn with me in your blue notebook to page 26. Pause this video right now if you need to get to page 26. Awesome. Okay, so you're back. You are on page 26 of your blue notebook. And I want you to take a look here at what we're doing. So we're going to review in Chapter 1 the text title and page number. Okay, so right here, this is the title of the text is Call of the Wild. So you put Call of the Wild here. Call of Wild. Cow. We'll call it cow. So Call of the Wild. Now, evidence, quotation or paraphrase, and how does the evidence support your claim? All right, so here's your job. We're going to look at things that support Jack London, okay? Things that support him. You don't have to write this on your page. I'm just writing it here so you don't forget. He says he's not a nature faker. So, if you look at the first claim in the first paragraph of Jack London's The Other Animals, you'll notice that he says, I said of my characters, he didn't think this, he just did it. Right? So he's saying, hey, these animals, they're not thinking ahead of time and all that. They're just doing things. And if we look in Chapter 1, we'll see an example of that from Buck. So follow along with me. I'm going to walk us through this first step, okay? Go ahead and push pause here. You need to have Chapter 1 of Call of the Wild ready, and you need to be here on the blue notebook, page 26. Pause the video and get Chapter 1 open, or blue notebook, page 26, and then we'll move on to the next slide. All right, you should be on page 8 and 9 of Call of the Wild, and blue notebook, page 26. So blue notebook, page 26, we're going to fill in this very top row here, and I'll walk you through it. The very first one. You'll fill out the rest of those rows all by yourself, but we'll walk through the first row together. So the very first thing is that this page, what we're going to do is try to support Jack London's claim. Okay, we're going to support his claim that he is not a nature faker. We support the claim that he is not a nature faker. Okay. Go ahead and move on to the next slide and we'll get some more details. Okay, so as I read Call of the Wild in chapter 1, and I go to page 8, I go to page 9, I notice that there's actually some evidence here that could support the idea that Jack London is not a nature faker. He's not trying to turn Buck into a person. Okay, he's letting Buck be an animal, a realistic animal. So, and here they are. So let's look at these together. So this is from page 8. This is when Buck is being beaten. It says, he crawled to his feet, too dazed to rush. He staggered limply about, blood flowing from his nose and mouth and ears. Now, I think this is all pretty realistic. I mean, we've just got a description of blood flowing from his nose. That's not a person. I mean, an animal can have that happen. Crawling to his feet. Yeah, dogs will do that if they're knocked down. 2 days to rush. Staggered limply about. Even the blood coming from his mouth and ears. Let's look at the next one. With a roar, interesting word, that was almost lion-like. He's being compared to an animal. In its ferocity, he again hurled himself at the man. Hurled, jumping without control. Okay, so this is my evidence here. I'd like you guys to go ahead and fill in your evidence chart with exactly this evidence, like full quotes, okay? If you start to run out of space, I mean, you can use the ellipses as you need. That's these right here. You can use ellipses if you need to put ellipses, write this first part here, and then put ellipses, dot, dot, dot. That's the ugliest 3 dots in the world. And then you need to kind of, finish the rest of the quote. You can do that to save space, but I think you can get it done. Go ahead and copy that down, and then we'll move on. Okay, so how do we interpret this? Well, if we look at that very first quote, we'll see that Buck is described in detail, which you go, is he being humanized? Is Jack London turning him into a human? But really the detail he's described in, it's objective. What that means is we're describing him as he is. We're not describing his feelings and emotions. So we see his physical reaction without the inner emotions or thought process. So we're not getting a glimpse into his mind. We're just seeing the dogs limping around bleeding. Okay, so this supports Jack London. Jack London's like, hey, I'm not faking. Dog's a dog. Okay, cool. I agree. This supports that. Let's look at this next line. This line does remind me that Buck is like a lion, which is another animal. Hint, hint. Right? He's not being fake. Is an animal guided by instinct. Words like roar, ferocity, hurled, they also emphasize the idea that Buck is a pure animal. Okay? His instincts are what's controlling him. Nothing else. He's not sitting there thinking, if I leap at this man and I grab onto his leg, he'll wince in pain, then I can get the club from him. And he's not doing any of that. He's just jumping at the guy. Okay? So go ahead and take a moment, fill all of this in, pause the video, and fill all of this in, then move on. Okay, so you have filled in everything in these top 3 zones, okay, in this row. Now you're going to work on the rest. You can do it. So you're going to find, I know there's space here for like 1, 2, 3. Let's say 2. Okay, I'm going to have you work on this one. I'm going to have you work on this one. If you do this one right here, I'm going to give you extra credit. Okay, let's be like extra credit. So if you're missing a little bit of a grade, you can show me that and I'll apply that to some of your missing grades. It's not a full assignment or anything, but it'll help you make up some points. Like if you got an 80, I'll bring it up to a 90, that kind of thing. But work on these 2. See if you can find 2 more examples that support Jack London's arguments. So you might have to go back to your paragraph summaries and call in the other animals. Go back to those chapter summary or paragraph summaries from the other animals. And what are Jack London's claims? See if you can identify where he's trying to do those things in Call of the Wild to prove that he's not a nature faker. Work on this is going to take you a little bit of time, but when you're done, you'll move on. Awesome. You finished with that part. Now we're moving on to the next one. Blue notebook, page 27. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Now we're going to have to address the other side of this argument, which is we are against Jack London now. Now we got to see where he is a nature faker. Okay, so this whole chart on 27 is about Jack London is a nature faker. We're going to say he is a nature faker here. Okay? We have to find evidence of that. Whew, here we go. You got this. Move on. All right, so again, I'm going to walk you through this first row. Okay, so again, we're in Call of the Wild, chapter 1, and we're going to look at some evidence. Move along to the next slide and we'll look at what we've got. So we found this one, right? Let's look at this one together. This is a piece of evidence. It says, Buck wondered where they went, for they never came back. But the fear of the future was strong upon him, and he was glad each time when he was not selected. Now this piece of evidence comes right after Buck is beaten, and he talks about some other dogs who would come, and some dogs just like, you know, fell in love with the man with the red sweater, and they just wanted to obey him, and they just wanted to be good dogs. And he said there were a couple of dogs that never played along. They never played the game. And then it talks about these dogs that are picked up and leave. And of course, we know they're being shipped somewhere. He doesn't know what's going on. But look at these words here. Buck wondered where they went, for they never came back. But the fear of the future was strong upon him, and he was glad each time when he was not selected. This does not seem to show Buck as an animal, does it? It seems to do something more. So go ahead and copy down this quote here into your evidence chart, and then we'll move on. Okay, so you've copied down that quote. Now look, I'm not going to make you copy this whole thing. I can hear you gasping and sighing from the other side of the screen here. But look, not all of it. Just you're going to pick the one that you think is most important. So as we analyze this, so here the word wondered, it suggests that Buck's mind thinks about things it cannot see or hear. It has the ability to think in an abstract way. This is very human. Okay. The phrase fear of the future suggests that Buck has the capacity or the ability, capacity means ability, I'm going to write it here, ability, ugly, has the ability to worry about his life and what may happen to him in the future. This level of like forward thinking, anxiety, fear, it goes beyond London's claim that his animals are governed by instinct. Because London said that. He said they're just governed by instinct. It's like, yeah, but animals don't fear the future. They don't know. I mean, maybe a little bit about like dinner time. They'll worry, but they're not thinking about, oh man, several weeks from now, where am I going to go? Where am I going to be? They're not thinking about that. And finally, words like fear and glad ascribe or give human-like emotions to Buck. So pick one of these that you like best. Either you like this one best, or this one best. You can copy it or you can put it in your own words, whatever you think is best, and then we'll move on. All right, very good. So you finished all three of those. Perfect, on page 27. And again, we are evidence like against Jack London. This is the claim that Jack London is a nature faker. Is a nature faker. Okay? He's faking. He's making Buck human. Okay? So let's again look for one here. Look for one here. And then this one will be extra credit as well. We'll get you set up. That's a lot of work in this lesson. I think you can do it though. So be detailed, okay, in your answers. Use complete sentences. Remember to capitalize, punctuate, go back to the other sections if you haven't been doing that and fix them. Okay, then we'll move on as soon as you're done with this. Okay, now we're going to draft a claim statement. Okay, what this is at the very top of your chart, you'll see this thing that says claim right down here. And it says work together. I am totally fine if you want to work with a partner on this to draft a claim statement for each side of the argument. You need a claim for one side and you need a claim for the other. So you need to claim that he is a nature faker and you need to claim that he is not. Actually, the is not comes first. This is page 26. Is not nature faker. This is page like 26. This is page 27. Is that he is a nature faker. So work on that. Fill it out. All right, let me be clear. So you've written claims, right? One claim for and one claim against. He is a nature faker. He's not a nature faker. You got that done? Good. If not, go back, rewind, hit the rewind a couple times. Finish that. So you've got your claims, okay? We've got claims for both sides. So based on London's portrayal of Buck in chapter 1, should he be considered a nature faker? Now I'm asking you, okay? I want to know what you think. You've looked at both sides of this argument. Would you consider him a nature faker? Look, I know it's both ways. I know that it's obvious that he's trying to not turn Buck into a human in some parts, but then other parts he is. So I know it's both ways, but like we're going to pick a side on this one and see how we can argue it. Which one is he more? Is he more of a nature faker or is he more of not a nature faker? So discuss and decide. Talk with some people around you about what they think and what you think. Which claim do you feel you can most strongly support in a discussion or a debate? Because we're going to have a debate about this. And why? What evidence do you feel is most compelling or most interesting and important? Okay, so you make sure you have enough evidence for this debate because I will ask you. And we're going to move on to the next slide. Awesome. A lot of work on this one. But in this lesson, you connected ideas across texts, right? We used two different texts for this by applying the nature faker debate to chapter 1 of Call of the Wild. And you prepared for a scholarly discussion by gathering text evidence and developing claims. Well done. Another one down. You got this.